Millennials have amassed over $12 trillion in wealth over the last 5 years, yet most are still feeling helpless. Why is that? And today we're going to discuss that on What's Wrong with Millennials. This is a Broken Real Media production, and we are the Something's Wrong Here podcast.
Check one. Yo. Check two. Check. Check three. Yo. Check 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Welcome back. Check out all our socials. Click the like button. Thank you for listening. I am Randy.
I'm Ken-Zee.
And it's just Ken-Zee and I in the studio tonight. Normally, we have a guest, but unfortunately they were sick. So we decided to knock this thing out ourselves. And, we came up with the idea of what's wrong with millennials. And who better to, rip millennials apart than two millennials that know nothing about anything.
We're experts.
I mean, we fit the demographic.
I mean, if you put hashtag experts, we're experts.
Right?
Right.
I mean,
we're millennials. We're qualified.
We're qualified. Okay, that's better. We're not experts. We're qualified.
Oh, I think I can be an expert at ripping millennials apart.
So, yeah, I mean, we are millennials. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but at least we are willing to rip ourselves apart and talk about what is wrong with our generation. And what is wrong with... I'm just going to ask you right now, what is wrong with millennials?
My personal hypothesis here is a little long-winded, but I'm going to go for it here. In 2012, it was the first year that the majority of adult Americans had the internet on their cell phone.
100%.
I would also argue in 2012, the majority of adult Americans that had cell phones that were capable and qualified and using the internet on them was millennials. We were the first to get them. We were the first to give them shoved in our hands in 2007 with the iPhone. Prior to that, we had all of the...
We had Snake.
Well, I mean, you got to realize what millennials were typically growing up and getting cell phones somewhere in the high school era. And it started with, you're right, the Nokia with Snake. And then it went to a 0.3 megapixel son of a bitch.
I miss the Nokia.
Right?
You could throw it against a wall. Nothing would happen.
Days of battery.
Yeah, that thing you'd charge it and you'd have it at least 5 days, and that's with playing Snake.
Yeah. Like
4 or 5 hours a day.
But then look at the trend. Look at what happened. The phone started to become a, what do I want to say here? A comparison. A feature of, I'm cool because I got this. So you started seeing new phones like the Razr come out, and all these phones got smaller, thinner,
Yeah, I think it even started with the Nokia, though. I mean, all of a sudden, kiosks started popping up everywhere where you could pop the cover off and change it. Look at me, look at my phone, look what I got.
And I mean, think about that little, do you remember the tiniest one, the like Pantech, Pantera, whatever that thing was fucking called, right?
Reminds me of the little grasshopper in Men in Black.
And then in 2007, we started building screens up because we started building apps, we started building things and putting that on there. And then in 2012, I mean, the internet really hit, and no offense, but the second the internet hit, what happens? You have porn, you have gambling, you have every fucking addiction that you can right there in your hand. And it's crammed into our hands first. And we're the youngest generation, so we're the most curious with that. And we're going to drive deep into what happens with it, right?
Absolutely.
And now I would argue that we are the first generation that was of the technical revolution that I believe we exist in here. And in that first generation to get it, I think that a lot of people learned it in nefarious ways. I mean, look at the Silk Road. Look at it still to this day on the dark web. I mean, look, what percentage of the internet is like illicit material, so to speak? It's like 75% of it.
Jeez.
So, I mean, if you think about it, what I really think is wrong with millennials is that we were the first people to be told, go to college, get a degree, learn the computer, learn to type, learn this, learn that, and get a cell phone. We all check in with us, check in with your parents, make sure that you call 3 times a day to make, you know what I mean? Yeah. That was the generational era of you went outside, you came home at dark. And we grew up that way until, honestly, late middle school, early high school. And I think what's wrong with millennials now is that you talk about $12 trillion worth of $12 trillion worth of money here. And while that's a ludicrous number, I think a lot of it is grifting. I think a lot of it is nefarious. I think that even in the $12 trillion worth of money, if we were to take that all at good faith money, it's still split in such a small percentages up here. I mean, it's basically just a...
Well, yeah, you got to think of it. Well, Taylor Swift is $1 billion of that. Kylie Jenner's $1 billion of that.
Yeah.
All of your athletes, your prime age for athlete is 22 to 30, which is a millennial.
Yep.
So all of your athletes are millennials.
Yep.
And then you look at it, you're like, all right, well, millennials are gaining wealth, but are they?
Yeah.
Or is just the top 1%?
Yeah. And then on top of that, add to that the simplest and weirdest version of it, which is where, let's say we take someone that's famous playing football, pick any of them. You can take Patrick Mahomes, you can take George Kittle, you can take any of these guys, the big names, and this isn't kudos on them because they're good with what they're doing and they're good on socials, but the second they're on social media, they're also followed at a level where they're monetizing their own media, their own NIL. There's, you know what I mean? So like all of that kind of stuff then kicks in. And so you have even a further gap than most people realize. And then to think about our generation of millennials watching other millennials monetizing them while working a hard day and not feeling like we got there. Well,
and let me ask you this. So we have influencers and everything, and most of them fall within close to the millennial age. The thing is that it doesn't last forever. You can't be an influencer forever because most of them are using their body. They're using their beauty. What happens when you have such a wide variety and a large number of people who are doing social media as their main income? What happens when they age out of that? What is going to happen? Because most of them probably aren't saving. Most of them probably, you're talking the top 1% of the top 1% are making millions. You've got, top 5% maybe making enough to get by. You don't have a company 401k. You don't have a pension. You don't have any of that. And you're blowing through your money trying to keep up this image.
Well, I think there's a twofold way to look at this, and I want to kind of address both sides of it, because I think what you're describing is the typical influencer, which is what we've always joked around about. They've got the Lamborghini in their photo shoot, but it's not fucking theirs. It's rented, or it's leased, and it's
or it's parked on the side of the road, and they run up and get a picture with it.
However it be, but the clicks exist, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then I think there's the other kind of people who are the intelligent type of influencer, and I want to reference Cletus McFarland here. Garrett he's a brilliant person all around, business wise, etc., and as an influencer. His content quite catchy, but on top of that, he runs merch, and then on top of that merch, he also was the one who decided to jump in and invest and got the warehouse, and now he runs a lot of other influencers' merch. So he's a manufacturer of merchandise for a lot of other influencers as well. Awesome.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
I mean, he can continue that long past his expiration date.
And he's grown it to a point where I think I would assume at this point that it's almost a invite only into that warehouse of merch. This isn't we're just randomly jumping in there with our podcast tomorrow.
Yeah.
And when you have that, you have the ability to A, figure out the engagement, B, know how you're doing it, C, make that network. You have the intelligent influencers like Garrett, who then realized, I have a full-time living through my own business enterprises, my own entertainment avenues, etc. And it's not leased. I own all of it. I don't own Lamborghini. I've got a drag racing car. I've got a Ford Raptor R. I've got a this. I've got a that. But everything's pretty humble money there. And ultimately, he's just done it very intelligently. He's got a business empire that vlogs rather than a influencer who clicks shit or who hopes for clicks.
Well, then you have the other side of it. Take Adam 22, for example.
Okay.
Became very famous for a while. Whether you like why he's famous or not, that's up in the air. But like you said, the internet's 76% nefarious. So, bought his wife a Lamborghini for having sex with another man.
Neat.
Bought a giant warehouse for his podcast, hired staff, everything else. And I can't confirm or deny this, but multiple reports came out that he's broke, has to sell the giant warehouse. The media company's not making as much money as it was before. Like I said, there's an expiration date on all of this. I mean, once you do something, you have to either reinvent yourself or come back over the top with something more extreme to keep yourself relevant in this type of business.
Or have a better product.
Well, yeah, yep. There are those rare few that do have a better product. I mean, you're looking at like the Joe Rogans that has been able to sustain his popularity with his. He hasn't changed his model. Yeah, it's been the same thing over and over.
And that's why, like, who is Adam 22? Is this the fella who's cuckold to his wife or whatever?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so, like, that's where I would argue that this is just such absurdity. Like, no offense. That is absolute absurdity to me, that is a product, even in the least. Like, the fact that he afforded a warehouse, cars, etc., fuck that.
Well, they've got a podcast. They invite like porn stars on. Then him and his wife sleeps with him, films it, sells content on OnlyFans.
But ultimately, your product is the exact same thing over and over and over.
Absolutely.
So that's the expiration date. Joe Rogan has.
But at the same time, I don't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, but at the same time, it's the same product, but you can go get that same product everywhere for free.
Right, but then, I think your expiration date comes from people also, losing interest in the same content over and over and having to pay for a OnlyFans subscription to see half of it. Whereas I think your expiration date of like the Joe Rogan doesn't exist because his conversations are real. They're people's real thoughts. People want to respond to that. I mean, how many people are engaging in the comments just wanting a snippet to be in that thing is crazy. But the reality is, if you look at his guest lineup, he goes with a comedian. He goes with a psychologist. He goes with an alien guy. He goes with a, telepathic person. He goes with a
scientist,
wrongfully accused person who spent 4 years of her life in jail in a foreign country. It's fucking wild. And the thing is, I
thought you were going to go with the wrongfully accused black man who then murdered a man.
No,
we're straight out of the studio.
Different one. That was a different one. But like, that is new, wild, engaging, and like real content. Whereas watch some other dude fuck my wife, I don't get it. I don't. The expiration date on that for me was before it started.
And I agree with you 100%. Do you think that it seems to be a popular thing? It seems to be happening a lot. You have somebody like Bonnie Blue, who is literally just arrested today. Don't know why, but sleeps with 1,000 men in a day. How many times can you do that before you say it's already been done?
Well, that's part of like that's part of social media, and that's part of the whole aspect of clicks is like social media and every aspect of it, every virality on social media is constant one-upping. So let me reference a common theme here that won't bash anybody and also fucking cool. Red Bull. Go look up Red Bull on social media and look at their shorts. Watch their jumps get longer each time until a trophy truck's jumping a stadium or a town, or you know what I mean? Like all of this crazy fucking shit. They're one-upping it every time. I swear to God, it's an energy drink that slaps a sticker on a helmet and says, give it your all.
Yeah.
And they mean it. Because if you do and you succeed, you're going to get clicks and you're going to be on the team. But by fucking Job, we are about clicks.
I don't know if it was Red Bull or if it's Nitro Circus, but I got a video sent to me the other day. A dirt bike jumping rail cars as the train is going down the road.
I've seen that.
I'm not sure if it was Nitro Circus or Red Bull, but
I think it was Red Bull personally.
I think it was Red Bull. That's why I brought it up. And the concept is true because, I mean, they started off with what? Drifting cars around corners, and that was the cool thing. Then it went to skydiving. Then it went to airplane races.
And here's one of the problems that I'm going to tell you about with the fucking Gen Zers, in my opinion. Some of the younger millennials, too. No argument there at all. But there's so many fucking people who watch the Red Bull guy or they watch Ken Block's Gymkhana and they go, well, I don't have that kind of land, but the public streets are fucking fun to do it on. So you get the NYC floating crew, you know, doing 95 throughout traffic, literally only trying to weave and float as close to cars as possible.
Yeah.
And that fucks stuff up pretty quick. Now, that's just a group of fucking kids seeking adrenaline because they're addicted to a fucking screen watching that shit. Bonnie Blue, I don't know her fucking story. I don't give a shit about it. Obviously, at this point, it's a wild one. But simply put, yeah, she probably watched the other one fuck 100 dudes in a day and thought, fuck her, I can do a 0 on that.
I mean, I believe the original record was like 950 set like 15 years ago. So, I mean, it's nothing new.
But that's what I'm saying.
But it's more extreme.
It's nothing new, but that record hasn't been on a social media or a platform where the whole world can click. And that's your difference.
True.
And, you know, just recently, you know, Trigonometry's talking about it with that porn star chick. And I don't even remember her name. Lily
Phillips?
Yeah, there you go. And she fucked 100 dudes in a day, right? And she
I think they actually did it together. Her and Bonnie Blue.
Super neat.
Right?
And so ultimately you end up with like, she's sitting there defending that, man. And I don't care because I'm not going to be a part of it either way and it doesn't matter to me or affect my life. So I don't really give a shit. I personally did find it entertaining as fuck to listen to that thing and watch her defend fucking 100 dudes in a day. Like, this is cool. It's neat. Whoa. Like, that's where I go to the breakdown of millennials and what's wrong here. That's something wrong. It might not be present yet. When you come around and come to grips with fucking reality, good luck.
Right.
That's going to be rough.
That's
like, how many therapy sessions is that fucking going to be?
Well, especially when it comes around too, where you want to put that life behind you, because we all, whether it be a job, a career, a bad day, we all want to put it behind us and be over it because we want to move on to the next big thing. How do you put something that's on the internet forever like that behind you?
Oh man.
And do you think she'll? I mean, you have to come with terms with it for the rest of your life. But I do know a lot of people have done multiple interviews about how they have regretted their choices in the adult industry, how they want certain content deleted, how they want to put it behind them, but they will always be that person, so they have to live it and make money off of it because they get turned down. I think it's I saw the other day that Adriana Chechik, I think is how you say her name. She tried to get in a gaming competition. She's a gamer now and a streamer on Twitch. Turned her down because of her past career. So they wouldn't even let her enter in this, I believe.
Well, I mean, like, that's one of those comical things where I think you've got some pearl clutching white women involved. And I have a pretty steadfast opinion on this. I can understand not having a porn star involved on a Twitch gaming site because of that optic, or
with the potential of children being on there
because of children.
Okay, but I get that.
But here's my blowback, and I understand. There's the white women coming out. You know, we don't want our kids involved with this. I hear you loud and clear. All right, let's move forward though.
Go check your kid's search history.
There you fucking go. Do you really think that your kid is watching that stream and doesn't know who the fuck she is for her real career? Right. Like, get the fuck out of here. If you really think you raised the angel, come talk to me. Come fucking sit in this room and talk to me. Because you didn't. I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but you're not.
Yeah.
And that one right there, that's where I lose my shit, is when I hear a parent trying to, you know, censor something because of their kid's ears, especially like a millennial parent who's given their kid an iPad, and you're like, the fuck's wrong with you? Well,
speaking of that, do you think... You're talking more of like the perception of coddling, the protection, the helicopter parents and stuff. As millennials, do you feel that we've been lied to?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's lied to. Let's talk about Santa.
Well, yeah, there's that. But I'm talking more of like the, you know, I remember growing up that you're special, you can do anything. And we were that weird geography where it's okay to be fat. It's okay to love your body. You're beautiful no matter what. Society is just a bunch of haters. And then reality hits where, no, you're lazy, you're fat, and you're probably going to die by the time you're 40 of heart disease.
Beauty's on the inside.
When it comes to personality, you can be ugly on the inside and be beautiful on the outside. I agree. But if you're fat on the outside, you will die from it.
It definitely plays a part. Definitely plays a part.
A large part.
I think I'm not going to sit here and say being overweight is the number. I guess obesity might be one of the number one killers, or I guess factors in killing people.
I would say it was probably the biggest factors. Heart disease, everything else that goes with diabetes, heart disease, it's all a factor of potential
all in all,
of being obese.
It is best to be healthy.
Absolutely.
No argument there. But the whole coddling thing, I mean, like, and again, that comes back to, we were the generation that grew up outside until middle school, high school, whatever it was for you, depending on your age gap here. But those were the times I can remember growing up and going outside and getting my bike, and my parents encouraged me, go ride your bike till dark.
Yeah.
Like, that was a thing.
There was
no phone.
But let's be honest. The encouragement sounds good, but they just wanted us out of their fucking hair.
And you know,
because I know that's why my parents sent me outside.
But let me ask you a question. Is it better as a millennial growing up where, to get out of your hair, we were encouraged to go ride our bikes until dark? Or here's a screen?
No, 100%. I mean, you actually had to work to make your interactions with people. You had to go talk to your friends. You couldn't text them. Or
if you fell down and skidded your knee while riding the bike, there was no phone. Like, go home was the only thing you could do. So you had to get home.
I have a good story with that. We're riding down Main Street. This person is a very famous person now. Me and him are riding down the street. He starts weaving back and forth. Nothing special. Hits a rock. Flips over the handlebars. Lands head first. Multiple stitches across the forehead. No phone. Nobody around. No nothing. Luckily, I was able to get pressure on it. Run to a church. Somebody happened to be working inside of a church and had to call our parents. I mean, yeah, you had to work to get a hold of somebody. It wasn't like, oh, well, let me pick up my cell phone. You had to go find somebody.
Yeah. I again argue that it was better to go outside and not be leashed and tethered. And I think that phones have a good place for health and safety. Don't misunderstand.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But I think they also have a insane level of fuckery. I think screens all around create a big level of fuckery.
Well, let me ask you this. If you left your house and left your phone at the house and went and ran errands for 3 hours, would you live?
I would. And you know what?
But you'll probably turn around and go get it, though.
No.
I would argue 95% of people would turn around and go get it. Maybe not you specifically.
And that's where I argue, like, what's wrong with millennials? We were the first generation to really get screens at the level that they're even remotely at now.
Yeah.
And we were the first generation to dive in and learn them, which is why we are the generation of tech support and fixing everything for our fucking parents and grandparents all the time when the router goes out. But we are addicted to screens.
Oh, yeah, we are. Absolutely. And then I think you got to throw in the fact that we have never lived through hard times. I mean, have you ever had the fear of being drafted to war?
No.
Myself, neither. I was born in 85. Never thought once that I was about to be drafted into war. And I know we had like the Operation Desert Storm, but it wasn't like a full-out war like we had Vietnam or World War I or World War II. We have never seen anything like that on that scale.
Nope. We might.
We might. We probably will at some point, I would imagine, given history.
So we're both under 40.
Correct.
Let's just play fun here. For 60 years, are we going to keep world peace?
It'd be nice to think so, but I would venture to say probably not.
Interesting.
Given the given the current climates and how fast it changes, I would say probably not.
So what do you think is wrong with millennials as the main number one?
Well, like you said, we started with the screens.
I specifically drove phone first. No, not to interrupt you on that.
Yeah, specifically phone first, internet on the phone. We were the first that had the Oregon Trail. We put our friends and family in there, and then we watched them all die in front of us. Do you know how traumatizing that was?
I guess you have a sensitive, thin skin, my friend.
No, what do I think's wrong with millennials? One, I think we've never had a hard time. You know, as a whole, yes, there has been people who have been subject to homelessness, food shortages, abuse, all those things. I don't want to downplay that. But as a whole, as a society, we have never seen anything on a large scale like the Great Depression, a large war. We have always had education at our fingertips. Worst case scenario, you go work at McDonald's for $17 an hour. I mean, we've never had to want, and we've never had to need. And, we're the first to bitch and say, well, we can't afford this. We can't do this. But let's be honest. This by no means is a flex because everybody else out here has what I have. But I'm saying there's people saying I can't afford this, I can't do this. And what I'm saying that I have is I have a $2,000 watch on my wrist. I have a $1,000 necklace. I am wearing $50 jeans, $400 shoes. And everybody, I can't say everybody, but most people are walking around with the same exact thing I have, complaining I can't afford anything.
I would like to address that right here now. I have on $50 pants, $25 Amazon shoes, and a shirt I was gifted.
See, like I said, I can't say for everybody, and I know that you're the outlier there, but, we have made our image our defining factor.
Dude, you can totally hear the ice cream truck. This is awesome.
This
is our first, ever actual ice cream truck in the inner. Nice.
No, it happened last time.
We had an ice cream. Oh, that's true. I didn't think we could hear it this clearly. Let's go.
No, it's pretty clear.
Do you want to take a break?
I just want to let that because it's really fucking loud now.
It's genuinely out your front door.
Yeah. Fuck it. It just came. It rolled through probably 5 minutes before you came.
He probably chases your Amazon driver around trying to find these packages.
Seeing people come out the door to get their packages, they're like, fuck it, let's get ice cream too. So when you ask what is wrong with millennials, I mean, I think it's a multifaceted question, and I think it comes down to multiple things, to where we went from go outside and play, go ride your bike, to this screen addiction that we've carried over into parenthood. And now that's how we remedy all issues. We get in a fight with our partner. We turn to that screen to go talk to another potential partner. We don't want to deal with our kids screaming. We hand them the phone and say, watch this. We don't like where we're at. We tend to just pick up the phone and look at it and get lost in it because we don't want to pay attention to reality.
I think that the phone broke down communication.
100%.
That millennials were the first generation to really have it. I mean, I got a phone before my dad did because he had a walkie-talkie. Mm-hmm. And then he got a Nextel, which was a phone walkie-talkie at the same time. Ultimately, communication broke down with the phone coming about and everyone having so much access, and there was no trust, no faith, no basis of anything anymore. Everything turned to evidential proof, Mm-hmm. It had to be right there in front of you. And so when you talk about these screens and everything and people running to them, it's simple. Everyone's using the screen as an outlet for the wrong things. Mm-hmm. When I'm doom scrolling, I'm pooping. You know what I mean? And half the time I'm actually researching something or diving into a rabbit hole of something weird. But a lot of people go onto their social media and their algorithms will feed them fail videos or they'll feed them like the soldiers coming home, and or they'll feed them whatever they want and whatever they like to click on and engage on or stop and watch, because that's what that algorithm is meant to do.
Oh yeah.
And it's also meant to go from happy to kind of pissing you off. And a lot of people don't realize that. And the reason is engagement goes up when you're happy. It goes up a lot more when you're pissed off. And people do not know that. And they're ignorant to it. Or they're just aware of it and I guess willing to be sluts to it. You know what I mean?
I would say more people are ignorant to it, but
I would too. And so that's like when you say, okay, someone goes and gets in a fight. Well, God damn it, I'm pissed off. I'm angry. And so the algorithm pumps them something, and they're not out there for the happy. They find a controversial post where their politics don't align or their religions don't align, or they can comment how stupid someone is for their thought. They're going to jump on that because they love their partner. They're bad at communicating. They're bad at fighting. So they jump on and shit on somebody on social media instead. And that fucks up a friendship or whatever somewhere, but it's less than what's at home, so it doesn't matter, does it?
no.
And I think that happens constantly. And I think we give our kids the same devices. And shit gets weird, man. Shit gets weird when you give kids the internet. I've heard a 5-year-old ask some really daunting questions based off things they found on the internet that you would not want a 5-year-old to ask. You know what I'm saying?
Doesn't surprise me one bit.
No,
Like,
it
not
doesn't.
at all.
And the thing is, it doesn't surprise anyone. I don't have kids, so it was fucking shocking to me. But I've told that story with some of the questions. And parents nowadays just are like, oh, that's normal. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, that's not a normal fucking question of a 5-year-old. Anytime a 5-year-old asks your dad, what's anal? That right there is a very awkward question for a 5-year-old to ask a parent.
And it's all right there on the internet.
But guess what? You gave your kid the screen and now you're mad that the screen gave them anal? I'm sorry, you fucked up. You fucked up by giving that kid a screen and curiosity got the best of him.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you other than what the fuck you did was wrong. Not your kid.
Yeah.
You.
No, that kid has no clue what's going on or whatever. It's just scrolling, looking for the next best thing to keep them entertained.
And here, let me show you where this cycle comes right back around and bites us in the ass. It's like a snake eating its own tail. Now we're angry because our kid just asked us about anal, so we're going to jump back on our own phone and scroll until we're angry.
Mm-hmm.
And it just fucking goes around and around, man. It's wild. And the thing about social media that you're aware of and I'm aware of and a lot of people are fucking stupid too is tribalism. How many people get on and post some dumb shit that doesn't have anything to do with them, their life, anything to do with their welfare, their health, their children, but they've jumped into some bullshit clause to social media virtue signal so that they can get some 14 clicks and likes and feel goods on their fucking post. And they're goddamn dumbasses.
Yeah.
And if you think that that is going to validate you to do that, you're a fucking idiot. And I have started only sharing memes and dumb shit. And I don't even look at the likes. I don't care. I don't comment back on this shit 99% of the time because I don't care. I'm just sharing shit I find funny because the social media trap that I feel like I have to be a part of for business is the other half of it. I don't fucking care. It's not a real world. Go out and touch nature.
Yeah.
If you want to spend time with me, come hang out with me. I don't want to fucking chat with you.
Yeah.
Not on a digital realm, not on a text message, not on Facebook Messenger. I don't fucking care about that platform.
Well, you talked about like how it's an anger and a vicious cycle. How is a generation so triggered and angry? A generation that was raised on South Park.
Because we got it first.
But how are we so
got it
angry?
first.
And we are the millennials are the cancel culture. They are the Karens. They are the just such at times miserable fucking people.
You ever had your own? Okay, let me ask you a question. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I do
you're good.
apologize. This is perfect timing for it, though. Have you ever had someone of your own political party call you out for something that you say about your own political party?
I mean, it depends on what you're talking about.
Like, for instance, I had someone refer to me as a Nazi at a gas pump who has the same sticker that I voted for. And FYI, I drive a Toyota Tundra. Good call, bud. Let's move on from that one. But
as they were probably driving a Volkswagen.
The comical aspect here is like, I've seen the left try to eat the left because they aren't tribal enough to the left. And I'm just trying to be out here and be me, not fucking caring about your internet portfolio and presence.
Yeah.
Like that is and that's the other thing. Like, let's go back to phones. Millennials are the first person to whip their phone out and try to get a picture of something and be pissed off at a restaurant for, oh, you guys served me cold food. No, you took pictures for 9 minutes of your food. Should have started eating.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of those kinds of things are a millennial forward trend. It's a millennial started trend because boomers got phones and never fucking cared about that because they were used to waking up at 5 a.m., dealing with our dumb fucking asses trying to tell us to go bike outside until dark. They didn't have time for our shit. They also were the same generation that learned to grow gardens, that learned 9 to 5 was a good idea.
Yeah.
That learned sleep by 9, wake up early and get shit done in the day was a good thing.
But they also were able to buy a house on a 9 to 5 and everything else. So who's to blame for millennials? Because they have crushing student loan, housing cost is through the roof, poor job wages. Inflation has not matched the growth of millennials.
Let's go back a step, can I?
Yeah.
I want to have a thought exercise with you.
Okay.
And I've been trying to do this with the right person. If we look at the mortgage-backed security from its inception, was it good forever until the internet exposed it and someone was able to break down the data and figure it out about the time that the internet started to really pop off in everyone's hands?
Was it good forever? No, I think it would have crashed either way. Just because one person discovered
the internet ever came about.
If the internet never came about,
I mean, would Bernie Madoff still be kicking it? I'm asking, like, real questions here. Did the internet expose and give us the ability to find some of the fraud, or was it more damning because look at what happens?
I think it's more damning because the fraud was there, the getting caught, the collapse of everything is going to happen regardless. But you now get to put it in front of everybody, where your Wall Street bros will probably be the only one that knows about it, and you see some rising prices here and there. Well, now everybody gets to know who, what, where, when, and why. And it is amplified times 10.
Isn't this the country where we're all equal? Free speech?
No, we're not.
Where are we?
That's a tough one. I mean, your free speech.
I'm struggling with your answer here, brother.
I mean, technically, no, we don't have free speech because you can't say anything without consequences. And when I say consequences, I mean real legal consequences, because you can't call for hate towards somebody. You can't call for violent acts towards people. So that's not true free speech. While I don't condone any of that speech, it's not true free speech. While the First Amendment does, depending on how you argue it, afford us some of those rights. It allows me to say some stupid things and probably call you some names, and you can't legally do anything about it. But you still have the libel, defamation. So there is some legal repercussions that come with it.
So I want to bring this back to millennials and have some fun. I think free speech died in 2012 with the phone.
Okay.
And the reason that I say that is, and I've used this argument, it's one specific example, it's fun, but go yell fire in a movie theater. You will be arrested. You will have issues to deal with, ramifications. Go type fire at a theater on, go type out on social media that there's a fire at this theater in Lee Summit. You're not going to get arrested. You're going to get called a dumbass. You're going to get called a liar. And someone somewhere is going to freak out thinking, oh my God, my kid's there. And they're going to call their kid, and their kid's going to be like, there's no fire here.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen to you.
So you're saying
So
the same exact thing. You're doing the same thing. I mean, you're writing it, typing it. You're putting...
No. Free speech, in my opinion, is the old form of words on paper that are there, etched ink, etc., or spoken to somebody who then telephones it or however, or if it's in front of an audience, etc. The second that social media kicked in and the internet wildly gave free speech a go, you can now look in 2025, look at Facebook. Oh, we censored shit. Look at Twitter. Oh, we had how many percentages of this was bots, and now it's arguably, or X, whatever the fuck. Now it's the most free speech. Then you look at the radical sides, and it's like, oh my fucking god, the only free speech is the internet because it's unlimited.
Yeah.
Free speech in the real world never existed, ever.
That's true. I agree.
If you say that you wanted to kill somebody right now, wouldn't make a difference. If you said certain people, though, you know people are going to show up.
Yeah.
Right now. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now, let's get back to millennials with this, though. That's where free speech was ruined. And it's because we became tribal with whatever the fuck we wanted to align with because certain people got fucking clicks. This is the same generation of people who logged onto AOL back in the day. This is the same generation of people who fucking forwarded chain emails for good luck. This is the same generation who makes fun of our parents when they print off that email and mail it to 10 people and you're like, look, you're so stupid. It's like, no, both of you are for falling for a chain email.
The luck genie's not going to show up and kill you if you don't pass it on to 10 people.
Yeah. Now let's go one further step with millennials and technology for a second here. How much grift exists in the scamming world because of millennials? And I mean, look at every fucking crypto bro. Look at every meme coin rug sweep. Look at all of it. Look at all the scammers that are out there now with a fucking flipper zero just capturing what we're too stupid to publicly broadcast. How many people feel good with an RFID wallet, but they forget if they pull their card out and pay, it's susceptible?
Right.
How many fucking people are ignorant to the own technology that exists that our generation, is most familiar with? It is wildly fascinating and terrifying.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I would say probably 90% of people, when it comes down to it, are oblivious to many of the things that you just said and would have to look it up to find out what the hell you're even talking about.
Now, here's the fun question for you. How many people give a shit about anything that I say is terrifying or fascinating and flipper zero and etc.? How many trigger words and what's the real percentage of people who actually give a shit to look something up when they don't know? Like, learn something rather than remain ignorant and blissful.
I'd hope 5%.
And
I feel like I'm probably going a little high.
Okay. And what percentage of people are upset when their information's stolen, but they're too stupid to realize they sold it for free?
100%.
That's weird. That's
right?
So weird. That's a really weird difference, and that's a large 95% delta.
Yeah, it truly is. I asked, we've got student loan, housing debt, all this other stuff. I think another problem with millennials is that, take my college career and multiple other people's, we kind of lived the Van Wilder lifestyle through college. A lot of us didn't have directions, didn't know where we wanted to be, didn't know what our careers were. We switched our careers 3 or 4 times throughout college. I know I personally did not get my degree till I was 27 years old. And we lived that lifestyle, and we just kept getting told, oh, you'll figure it out. Just give it time. You'll figure it out, all while racking up debt, and then upset that we have all this debt. And, we may have went in with a career that paid $500,000 to be a doctor, but by the time we get out, we've got a mid-level police officer career at $40,000 a year.
Okay, well, let's take some accountability.
Yes,
and
100%.
Let's move forward for a second here. How many millennials have a degree that they actively use?
I don't know the exact percentage.
I don't either. I'm asking you as
a guess.
Oh, swag, scientific wild ass guess.
30%.
30% of millennials have a degree that they actively use. I would wager you're 10 low. I think 40.
Okay.
But the fucker
less than half.
I think that's true. And the reason I say is I have a lot of millennial friends with degrees, and they're not using them for what they have.
I'm one.
And I know. And I was just about to say, like, you got your degree at 27. That's awesome. How's it doing ditch digging?
I mean, it pays more than what my degree's in.
There you go.
I mean, I'm doing really well for myself, but...
So wait, you found out that doing with your hands was better than having a paper achievement to sit behind a screen.
Would you imagine that?
Now, let me ask you another question. How many millennials were told, go to college or you'll never do anything?
All of them.
All of them? You want to say 100%?
No, I don't want to say 100%. There were those...
How many people?
10% that had the dads that owned the businesses, that dug the ditches, that worked on the cars, that ran the equipment, that said, hey, you can go do this and make a lot more.
Sorry, Randy, I have to tell you are full shit.
What?
I think because of our boomer parents, 50% of those people had jobs like you just described, not 10. And I think 50% of those parents that had those jobs did the same motherfucking thing. They told their kid, go to college, do better than me.
Yeah.
Be better than me.
You're probably right.
And now I have another one for you. Of those college degree millennials, and you're going to see where this ties in real quick. Of those college degree millennials, how many of them are working in a job that are tied to 8 hours a day of screen?
Oh, it depends on what they're doing, but that's a tough question. What's your guess?
75. Even in I'm talking about 75% of millennials have a screen-based job because boomers typically aren't the ones to have them or be proficient at them, typically. And you have a lot of millennials that are able to be hired cheaper or less qualified or just able to operate a screen better than mommy and poppy. And all of a sudden, you have a screen-based job for a millennial.
Yeah.
And I think that even if you're not in your degree, such as you are how much screen time on your job?
5%.
That's all the screen time?
Yeah.
A lot of paperwork on the filling out though?
On the back end, yeah.
Okay.
I would say one full day of paperwork for every probably 60 days.
Okay.
So a little more than, about close to 5%.
Okay. How much are you on your own screen during those days?
None.
Wow. I feel like you just lied to all of our viewers.
No, I just lied to anybody from my work that may have been listening.
So you get where I'm going here, though, is like the millennial screen effect was pretty huge because you have people all over the place. Like fun one, Zoltan Kazis has a fun bit about how he used to work for a mechanic shop, right? Mm-hmm. And he was not a mechanic. He was I know how to do the computer.
Gotcha.
So the mechanic shop was the kind of people who told their kid, go to college, never taught that kid to be a mechanic. My dad, cop. What could I never be according to my dad, Randy?
Probably a cop.
Okay. There's a weird breakdown right there.
There is, but I struggle with it because I was raised with a father who was college educated, who went to be a chemist, and basically said, he didn't say this outright, but I got the idea that I went to college and did well for myself, so you're going to be just like me. Mm-hmm. You're going to go to college because I did good, so you're going to do good. Mm-hmm. And college is the only way you can get there.
Here's a fun one for you. My mom went to college, got a degree, did not use that degree. My dad went to college, did not get a degree, did not use that not degree.
Right.
And my dad became a cop. I couldn't become a cop. My mom went to be a court reporter and killed it. But that wasn't what her degree was in. It was in psychology.
Yeah.
So comically, I feel just polar opposite, but exactly the same as you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I get the comparison.
And I think a lot of millennials would say something to the effect of, I can align with one of you or have my own alignment to that.
Fair enough.
And again, I don't disagree. I think 95% of millennials were said, go to college or you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
And I think that you were way wrong, low, on your number of 10% had mommy poppies that had the jobs that were doing. No, I think it's 50, 60% of those boomers had those jobs. And all of them said the same thing. Be better. Do better.
Well, I know this was
they thought college meant better.
I know this was a private school, but it probably had 150 graduating class the same year as me. It was a Catholic private school, but their college enrollment rate from that graduating class was 100%. And I would say probably 75% of those kids were wealthy business owner children. So they didn't have to go to school to get into the business that their parents were in.
Yeah.
But they had 100% college enrollment rate at the date of graduation.
Let me ask you a new fun question based off of that, and we'll switch it up and go funny for a minute.
I do have one more education question after yours.
Ooh, okay. How many millennials cheated some of their way through college?
Probably 90%, if not more.
I was going to say your number's low.
90%, if not more.
I was saying 97. I can tell you it was rampant anywhere and everywhere that I had a friend that I talked to. It's just fact.
I could see that. I lived at home while I was going to college, so I didn't have like that dorm room to where we could be like, hey, let me get your homework. Let's pass this off. So I was a little limited. But I could definitely see where there were at least corners cut.
I went to a university of engineers that were intelligent and uploaded all of the class files for every professor basically onto a system that anyone could get to anytime they wanted. Yeah. And they would even have the notes of like, oh, this macroeconomy teacher doesn't change his class ever. They're literally the same test every year. Here's everything you need. And he doesn't take attendance because it's 200 kids. So just show up on these 4 dates that you have tests and here's the 4. I won't tell you how I got through macroeconomics, but you're fucking right. I took all 4 tests in and copied them.
Let me guess, you showed up 5 days?
4.
Well, you probably showed up the first day.
Why?
I don't know, just to show that you were there.
Why?
So you just showed up for the first test.
It was macroecon. You didn't have to show up for anything but the test.
Again, like I said, we lived in kind of that Van Wilder movie college setting where...
And now we're supposed to be the smart ones.
Right?
And taking over and educated and ready to go.
I'm glad you said that because the question I did have is, you might not know the exact date, but I know you know a little more than I do about it. When did No Child Left Behind start?
Ooh. I don't actually know the official on this.
Was it in
early
the
90s?
Was it so it was in the millennial? Was it in the millennial school? The time we were in school.
Early.
Okay.
But I'm sorry. You and I are a delta of 5 years here.
Yeah.
For me, it was like before I hit public school.
I'm pretty sure
it was probably elementary school for you.
I'm pretty sure it was around elementary or middle because I remember that phrase thrown around a lot, not knowing really what it was. Just basically that, they're gonna. My thought process was No Child Left Behind would be, we're going to work with that kid a little bit extra and we're going to give them the stuff they need.
Sorry. I had to Google it while you were talking there. 2001. It was later and I thought I was actually...
So I was in high school.
Yeah, I was in middle school.
But still, it was part of the millennial
I thought it was
educational system.
100%. Yeah. There was no way we were going to leave anyone behind. Fun fact. We left tons behind. We just made sure that we're all on the same playing field of stupid.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad?
So with where I was going with the No Child Left Behind was, did we make everybody dumber by doing that?
Yes.
Teaching to the dumbest kid in the class? And I hate to put it that blunt, but did No Child Left Behind make it to where we started teaching to the dumb child?
No. I actually... Oh, that's... Okay, I don't like your phrasing of the question. I'll phrase it this way in response. How's this? I don't know if we started teaching to the dumbest child in the class, but what we definitely started doing was calling out the ones that were accelerated and not needing the assistance that some of them were. And those kids were told to be, you know, behavioral issues, ADD, ADHD, and that was when all that shit kicked in. And that was the same time that Big Pharma started basically creating amphetamines for every child that was not left behind. Because every kid, I remember when I got called out for acting out, and they said, "Why are you having issues?" And I said, "I'm bored."
Yeah, 100%.
And I was creating a distraction in this specific classroom on my times table, and I was done with it. I was always good at the times tables, you know, went through them, knocked them out, had my 1 minute, and for 40 seconds, I'd just sit there and joke around. My bad.
Right.
Well, guess what? I'm the one in trouble because I was good at math. So what I will say is, I don't want to say no child left behind taught to the dumbest student. I think it fucked over some intelligent ones.
Well, and that's like when I was in kindergarten. I was very advanced. I was reading at like a 6th grade level in kindergarten. So we used to play games where they'd like flash cards, and if you could read the card before the person next to you, you got to move to their seat. And it was around the world. Well, I was not allowed to play in that game because nobody ever got a word out because nobody could read in kindergarten, but I was reading at a 6th grade level.
Why? Who taught you to read?
My mother, at about 2 years old.
Okay. My mom, court reporter, was going through school when I was a child. Put me on her lap. I learned to read the court documents. So I was reading transcripts, man. So like,
nice.
And you got to realize lawyers don't use fun words. They use some fucking big ones.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, I can remember being 4 trying to order at TCBY, and I said the word gourmet. I got laughed at, but I didn't realize that we had weird words at that time, because there's a T, gourmet, at the age of 4 was a little harsh at the time. So where I go with this is, you were taught to read by someone who loved you.
Well, I was a sickly child with asthma really bad, so I couldn't go outside a lot. So I was stuck inside, but due to my being sick all the time, I think one of my first 10 words was diphenhydramine.
Well, so
I knew that word real well.
Yeah, and that's in my household. I was taught math by my brothers. Both of them have math-based degrees. Intelligent people.
Where did you go wrong?
I was taught to read by my mother, who's a court reporter, and I was taught real world by my dad, who was the chief of police, retired.
Yeah,
that guy had some knowledge. It still does. Sorry. The reality, though, I think that boomers were the last generation of parents that didn't bank on the public school education to teach us what we needed. Somehow that was just a go here and get out of my fucking face so I can go make some money. And the second that your kid goes to school and mom's at home and the kid's at school, now mom can go to work again. And I think that was a creationism of middle class, a creationism for expanding it and creating more diversity within it, because the middle class is the one who pays for all of the fuck ups on both sides.
100%.
So everyone talks about the ever widening and crisis of our middle class. Let's go back to that. Millennials in the middle class don't accept where they are. They're entitled because they've never had the hard time, like you said. And that's a hard thing for most millennials to hear.
That was one of my last questions. Are we entitled and self-centered?
Entitled little fucking cunts. And I fucking mean it. And I mean every word of it. I am in the same goddamn boat. I call my mom the first time I get pissed off because the DMV didn't get it right. And I just got to vent. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need her to solve my problems. I just got to scream and yell and shit. Someone else can't answer the phone right now.
But that's the difference between you and I. Yeah, I may call my parent or a friend to vent about something that's pissing me off or shitty. But we also have millennial parents who are now going to job interviews for their children.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing? How is this happening? How did we go from get the fuck outside, go ride your bike, don't come home to the the sun goes down, drink out of the garden hose. You don't need to come in the house for water. You got water outside. To, I'm not even going to let my own child go to a job interview on their own.
Dumbass tribalism.
Elaborate.
I go post an article on Facebook that I Google and find that says drinking out of a garden hose can be dangerous. 60 Karens find it and share it.
Okay.
Dumbass tribalism goes a long way. And
that fits with multiple levels across from drinking out of a hose to, I think our problem is, you brought up articles. We no longer have news articles. 99% of everything on the news that you look up that are considered news is opinion pieces.
Good luck getting people to think for themselves. Now, going back though, on that tribalism aspect and on all of that, I think a lot of things that millennials have also lost from the childhoods we were raised where we were outside, no phone, to now these people having kids, you run into hypocrisy that we're not willing to address or be accountable for.
To an extent.
I mean, I drink out of a garden hose. I know plenty of people my age who would be repulsed to give their kids garden hose water today. I know that I drank garden hose water with the same people who I'm talking about.
I'm sure.
I know, you know what I mean? So, and that's just because some expert said, oh, well, in the sun, this can do this and this. And well, yeah, it always has.
Yeah.
We've always been poisoning ourselves. We've detonated 1,000 nuclear bombs on this fucking country.
Yeah.
Let's talk about real.
We have microplastics rolling around in our bodies in every orifice that you can think of.
Look at what PFAs and leaded gasoline did. Let's just be fucking real. Or, I'm sorry, forever chemicals for all those people who are too ignorant to know what a PFA is.
But our parents, I mean, they had their cribs painted with lead paint.
Yeah.
They survived.
Well,
I'm not saying it's healthy, and I don't advise anybody to go lick some lead paint, but, they lived.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, let's if you want to talk about what's wrong with millennials, let's go into, boomer parents. No car seats. Boomer parents, when we're born, they're running out and buying the most scientifically advanced tech safest thing ever. Like,
right.
You're here and didn't die. But you have to go buy something that's never been had for your life because we've said it's better. And I'm not arguing car seats aren't safer. I'm not sitting here on that horse to die on.
No, of course not.
It's just a laughable thing where every boomer parent has the story of I didn't have a car seat. But every boomer parent was a bad parent if they didn't have a car seat.
They didn't even have seat belts back then.
And then, again, the second that you're a boomer parent and you have a kid nowadays that's my age, your age, and we weren't in a car seat, that's an abuse.
Right.
That's abuse.
And the weird thing is now you see these parents that are putting 13-year-olds in car seats. And
I haven't seen that, but I don't doubt it.
Well, by law, it goes by weight.
Fuck. Okay.
I think it's like up to like 95 pounds or something.
So,
I'm sorry. That's a bullshit number. I'm not sure the exact number, but it goes by weight. It doesn't go by age or...
All right. Work with me here for a second. I know I interrupted you and I apologize.
No, you're good.
Please tell me there's a cop rolling around carrying a scale, weighing fucking children based off of their seat.
Oh, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it has not happened.
Tell me it's a boomer cop too.
It's gotta
Like
be.
that would only make it better because the guy would have to take a few seconds to figure out the scale and how it works.
Right? Take 10 minutes to be able to find the button to turn it on because I'm sure it's digital at that point. But yeah, it's so odd seeing the digression. I was going to say progression, but digression of society, how we have it better than our parents. Yet, from a sociological standpoint, we have it worse. From a consumer standpoint, from a wealth standpoint, from everything, we have it worse. And then if you look at like Gen Z, which is the age demographic below us, 12 to 27 at the time of recording this, they are labeled the poorest of mental health of all generations. You know, they had 4 generations removed. Their great grandpa saw people blown apart and were just fine, and they get mislabeled of their gender because they decided to change it that day, and they have a full mental breakdown and have to sleep for 3 days to cope. How do you get in 4 generations that much of a disconnect from harsh times? Like, what is really harsh?
Well, it's a lot to unpack. I want to go back to where you said that we have it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Digression.
Yeah.
And I would disagree. We live in a time where you are wearing how much in apparel?
Yeah.
Plus
Five grand.
Okay.
With a $2,000 phone in my pocket, $2,000 watch, and about $5,000.
Okay. And the way that I really... Okay, what are we closest related to? Chimpanzees still?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're entering the Stone Age.
Correct.
If you look and do any research on chimps and Darwinism as a feature of life, we've got it made. We've got it made.
Yeah.
We bitch about other people's problems to feel good and get likes. I mean, like, for real.
When I said we have it worse, I'm just saying, you know, our parents could buy a home. A single parent, working parent, could buy a family of 5 a home on a 9-to-5 income. Now it takes both parents working, and you still can't afford a home because the inflation rate is about 4 times higher than what it should be. We have not caught up income to the inflation rates. And then we have the boomers that are saying you shouldn't buy your avocado toast, which I agree in a lot of ways, because we have already just established, you know, if you can wear $5,000 worth of stuff, you could probably save a little bit more. And you proved that yourself by explaining what you were wearing compared to what I was wearing. So there is the, you know, if you want sympathy, go look it up in the dictionaries between shit and syphilis. And there is the hard reality that a house costs 5 times as much as it would of our parents when you take inflation into consideration.
Yep. I understand that. And I don't disagree that there is a break there. But if you can refer back to American capitalism and just extrapolate that people everywhere of all time have always had some shitty ones everywhere, we created some instabilities in our own system to hedge our bets on things, which creates more economy, which creates more boost. You know, if you want to go into the stock market, and if you always want to look at what to invest in the stock market, it always goes up. It always, even after a crash, it always goes up higher, right? Okay. Well, if you create a synthesized backer in the 70s that blows up in 2007, 2008, 2009, I mean, is that your problem if you created it in the 70s and got rich?
I mean, it's everybody else's problem.
Okay. Well, now you have selfishness, which is just a problem across any people, across any tribe, across any goddamn demographic, right? So you're always going to have bad apples everywhere. I would argue that more bad apples are what have ruined our housing market, what have ruined our energy sectors, what have ruined certain things for the common man. Not time, not inflation, none of those things. Private sector greed or just corporate greed in general.
Well, yeah, you take corporate greed and stuff. What do you say to the people who you see, let's break this down to Republican, Democrat.
Oh boy.
And I'm going to say the Democrat supporters.
Okay.
Just because I see it from them more.
We're doing both, by the way.
Oh, I have no problem doing both, but I'm just going with this specific instance, Democrat. I see a lot of the Democrat voters saying that I voted for them because I care about people's rights, this, that, and the other. I don't mind paying a little bit more because they're going to tax me more. And then they tax them, and they're like, well, you know, I can't afford to live, but I don't agree with these other people, so I'm going to vote against my best interest because it may help other people. At a certain point, do we have to get over well, this may be morally the right thing, and I need to do what's best for me and what's best for the future of my kids? And don't get me wrong. A lot of times when you vote the other way, they're going to shift things in a shady way as well. At what point can we start voting out? Can we ever vote out things that aren't in our interest, such as taxes? And we'll always have taxes, but they don't have to raise as fast as they do.
I would start with are you sad for the stupid or proud for the empathy? And then next up, it turns into politics, which if you want to be right or left, liberal, Democrat, conservative, Republican, whatever words you want to associate here, I think they're all bullshit. I think it's all stupid.
It's all one giant wheel of a...
Let me ask you a question. If you want to talk politics versus financial, the second you make it politics, you've added a lot more than financial. And a lot of people don't value money as the number one. And I'm with those people. I don't value money as my number one thing in life.
I agree.
Okay. So I don't value like the politics comes with a lot of riders. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you, what do you value most
in life?
Yes.
Experiencing and enjoying it.
But what about the people that can no longer do that because they can't even afford to really live anymore because of the politics?
You're wanting my hardcore stance, and I follow you. Here's what I did. I started busting my ass, and I started working really goddamn hard. And I got hired by someone who saw that, appreciated it, and said, can't afford to lose you, name your number. And then he also found out my number from another company offer and said, shit, here's what I can get you. I work hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't willing to do that anymore. And a lot of people are unmotivated because a lot of people in our age and demographic are screen stuck, and they are working for a corporation that if they work their dick off, they will get nothing other than a pizza party on Friday and casual wear if they're lucky. And
fair enough. It's not a lie. That is 100% true.
And I think that a huge demographic of millennials is screen stuck, and during COVID and the pandemic were able to work from home, and they got a customary feeling to that. And then the second that company said it's over, come back in like you used to, people were entitled and forgot hypocrisy and forgot we did that. And I don't have... I understand a lot of jobs can be done from home, and a lot of corporations have just, we want to micromanage and monitor. I understand that.
Yeah. There's
also an aspect of if you can prove it and defend it, I bet you can get a position doing it. I speak for myself, and I defend it. That being said, to address that on the left leaning, I think a lot of them struggle with their own personal issues, and rather than face any of the harsh truths or the get up and get outs or the uncomfortable change of potentially switching jobs or doing anything else, they run to social media. They run to their vent. They run to an outlet and a screen.
Well, and I have seen a lot of millennials. Let's put it this way. I think I do well for myself. You know what I make. But I don't make very much an hour. I really don't. But the bottom line is, how many Saturdays do I work after working a 50-hour week, Monday through Friday? I'm willing to come in on Saturday and do another 10 hours on Saturday. And a lot of millennials I have found have the self-entitlement that you've talked about. That's robbery. That's abuse of your employees and this, that, and the other. I would never do that because that's just taking advantage of somebody. So living below the poverty line is acceptable, but putting in that little extra work, Do you know how many people I've offered a job, or at least said, hey, I think I could get you a job. And when you told them the hours, they said, you told them how much you could make. They say, absolutely, sign me up. They say, all right, well, here's what you're going to do. And then this is how many hours it's going to take. Do you know how many say no at that point?
Most, if not all.
Yeah. I have not had somebody take me up on it yet.
And I will say that to an extent, you're talking to someone who's worked corporation, not corporation, if you will. And there's a delta. And I will say, like, when you're saying, oh, I work a Saturday, well, if I'm paid salary and I'm not going to get a nickel for Saturday,
I understand that.
Fuck Saturday.
That's completely different. I'm going in on overtime.
And that right there is the difference between blue collar, white collar, or doers and screeners.
Well, look at a business owner. How many Saturdays does a business owner work for free?
Oh,
and that's, I know you know. That's why I'm asking.
That's a sacrifice factor.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I think that is something that is rare of anyone, most of all generational people. And I think that that's a risk that most people are uncomfortable taking. I don't think that's a age factor. Mm-hmm. I think that's a risk factor that most people are just, they prefer to be in their comfort zone. And if their comfort zone is a 40-hour week with a paycheck and you don't want to work Saturdays, then here's your corporate job. But if you do really well and we only give you pizza on Friday, don't be upset.
Correct.
If you want to come in and work 60 hours based off your 50-hour week and 10 on Saturday, sure, we're going to pay you a little bit more because we know we got to pay somebody to do 60 hours worth of work, not 40. Mm-hmm. So you have a very weird break there because corporations love to play the game of, if you're willing to do the work on Saturday, we'll promote you, or we'll try to make sure we'll get it right for you. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they're the first person to say it's also, oh, we never promised anything.
Absolutely.
There's a breakdown there. And I understand both sides. That's why I say, like, I'm going to struggle to, I want to play both sides of that one all day long.
Well, and I think that we as millennials kind of came on the backside of the cusp of that. We were taught there's a certain etiquette to work. You don't leave your work high and dry. You don't no call, no show. You always give 2 weeks notice when you're going to quit. But statistics show that if you don't leave your job for a different job every 2 to 5 years, you leave 20 to 50% of potential income on the table. And we as millennials, I do think, are rather, I want to say, loyal and tend not to leave once we find something we kind of like and get in the groove. And then we want to criticize the Gen Z because they'll up and leave tomorrow with 1 day's notice. Or 2 days notice. I'm leaving today
for $50 more.
Yeah. And then we're mad because we're not getting anywhere.
That is a problem of a different conversation altogether over a longer period of time, I think. But I understand what you're saying. I don't have the solution for you.
I don't have a solution for it either. And then other than detaching yourself from the psychological attachment you have to a job and realize that you need to move the fuck on sometimes.
And I mean, like, where you're at is certain specific instances, and I completely get it. But where I would put the masses is, I think a vast majority of millennials are screen stuck and financially dependent and unable or unwilling to take a risk. And it's a tough mindset because I can understand it and I can appreciate it. And if you're a guy sitting here with 2 kids and you've got a paycheck coming in every week, you can't really just leave that alone.
Correct. And I get it.
But at the same time, the second that you're complaining about how miserable you are at your work and you're not willing to make a change, I stop listening. Does that make sense? Oh,
it makes great sense. I mean,
you don't.
Why bitch about what you're not willing to change?
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you're just at that point. You're just listening to somebody listen to you bitch.
Right. And what I've been trying to remind people of all ages, millennials especially, is if you think for 5 seconds, just take one breath, one good long breath, and ask yourself, could I have been kicked in the dick if you're a man? Or could I have been punched in the tit if I'm a woman?
Or kicked in the dick if you're a man. Or, I mean, a woman.
However you want to play this card. But the ultimate here is like...
It is 2025.
So many people jump to an extreme instantaneously of this is the worst. And it's not.
It's far from it.
It's far from it. It's manufactured in your brain because your algorithms on your social media, your screens, your everything, and your intoxicants like caffeine, which is rampant.
That's another thing. I was thinking when we were talking about this. Millennials are hooked on intoxicants, whether it be weed, nicotine, alcohol, caffeine. We need some sort of fix for some reason.
We were the first people to get screens, man. We're fucked. What do you want me to tell you in my dark day hypothesis?
Yeah, I mean, we grew up with the Snoop Dogs, and they're always seeing them smoke weed. You know, the weed was glorified in our music and everything. We have weed stores on every corner. We were able to get nicotine at every store. And it's just carried over. I've noticed a lot of younger generations aren't smoking, aren't drinking. We're just fucked as millennials. We are such a weird group, but you get like into the Gen Z, the younger generation. I think they're going to have it 10 times worse than us.
Let me break something down for you for a second here. And this is my original thought, but you're a millennial. Did you go through a DARE program?
Absolutely.
Is weed a gateway drug?
According to them, yes.
No, I didn't ask according to DARE. I asked according to Randy.
Is it a gateway drug? I would say no.
Okay. So everything that your drug program taught you, you rebel against.
I mean, me personally, no, but...
You understand the concept.
I understand the concept, yes.
If we had a...
I would say, let me put it this way. At 8 years old, I had no idea what a narcotic was until DARE introduced it to me.
Neat. Me either. I had a dad who had showed me some things and taught me some things, if you will, as a cop, and obviously what to avoid. But where I go with it is the DARE program showed kids drugs. Millennials drugs. Gen Zers, the second that a DARE officer's like, oh, weed's a gateway drug, you have some fucking kid in the third row Google it and go, no, it's not. It's actually legal in this many states. Like,
that's actually a good point. And I never thought of that.
So, like, that right there, it's a very interesting intoxicant relation, in my opinion. And just now, millennials were the generation that was told coffee will what? If you drink it
stunt your growth.
If you drink coffee too young, it'll stunt your growth.
Yep, I was told that.
Yep. And what do we have instead of coffee for our generation? Amphetamines.
Well, that and Red Bulls.
Well, prescribed amphetamines, or literally,
300 milligrams of caffeine when a cup of coffee is what, 100?
Yeah. We're the same generation that went to college and Four Loko came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's just
we did get the real Four Loko.
So like I want to get into intoxicants a little bit on that level of like millennials. We're the last generational demographic to grow up without the internet and all of this stuff and public knowledge on these topics, and we were shown them by a police officer in DARE. And we were told weed's a gateway drug, and we were blah 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 blah. Right? I didn't try weed till I was 30 years old, dude. And I'll tell you what, I fell in love. That said,
I tried it when I was probably 15 and was over it by the time I was 20. Haven't really done since.
Hey, I'm 35. We'll see if I get over it. That said, we were the generation that we were forced to believe that. We were given evidence in a
asked
classroom.
Earlier, were we lied to?
I told you, yeah. We could talk about Santa too if you want. But that's one of those things. And I mean, like, now.
Well, we were lied to and we had no way to fact check it.
Correct. And that's where I get into this younger age where screens are both bad and damning, but at the same time, you break down all of the authority where they're saying weed's a gateway drug, and someone's going, caffeine is just as bad as marijuana. By the way, weed and marijuana, not even the real names. We fake named marijuana. That's a term for something else. It's not even, it's not real. It's hilarious to me. It's absurd. But I think you have a breakdown in intoxicant usage because we were the last generation to go faith-based on intoxicants.
On everything.
Again, coffee will stunt your growth.
No.
Really? Like, I mean, really? Are we fucking saying that still?
I don't believe so. But I'm sure somebody said it somewhere.
Yeah.
But no, growing up, I knew exactly what you were talking about because it was repeated over and over. Don't drink coffee. It'll stunt your growth.
I want to go into an elementary school with you and sit like a fly on the wall and see what a dare officer tells kids not to.
Do they even have dare officers?
No, like, seriously, like, what? They do. I'm like 99% sure because it gets police stations cool cars and they love it. Serious.
And McGruff, the crime dog.
Let's be real for a second. Like, if we were flies on the wall, what would that even look like now? I mean, like, what's a dare officer going to say that some kid can't Google and crash instantly? It's pretty fucked up. And I mean, like, nowadays we're seeing people that are even suggesting so far as like, oh, we should carry Narcan with us. Everyone should carry Narcan. Like, the fuck?
Right?
I don't get it. So, like, intoxicants is an entirety across generations and demographics. Millennials, I do believe, had the fucking rough riders because, like, you had boomers where we experimented on them and we just called people crazy and threw them in asylums. It became weird after millennials were born, and that was abusive. We couldn't hit kids. We couldn't do anything. We had to put them in car seats, and you know what I mean? And now you have every fucking 8-year-old Googling what someone tells them, and it's a search engine. And some of these kids find the right answer, and some don't.
That's true.
But I mean, it's a very wild, wild west, I would assume, of here I am as an authoritarian figure to present you information that we think is in your best interest. And now the entire audience is going, click, 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 click. The fuck it is. And on top of that, let's go back a step. When they open up their phone nowadays and their social media algorithm kicks in, they're seeing people smoke weed getting rich. They're seeing Lamborghinis and cash that's not actual real, but they don't know it.
No, they think it is.
And I mean, like, let's just scroll through what these fucking kids see, what their algorithm pumps them full of. And yeah, I think screens are something that's going to come about like asbestos at some point in time. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that, they recommend everybody should carry Narcan. We didn't have much to do to keep us entertained, and I'm in the millennial mentality. We would have done something like if we all had Narcan or a EpiPen, like EpiPen tag, where you played tag with your friends with an EpiPen, then they had to go run like 2 miles after you tagged them with an EpiPen.
I think we have different friends, but yeah, I could definitely see some people doing that kind of thing.
Well, you're allergic to a lot of things. What happens when you get hit with an EpiPen? Is it like an instant?
It's not fun.
I'm sure it's not fun, but is it like your just instant jolt of energy?
So you go into your, you want the real honest breakdown?
Yeah.
All right, so this is a weird part for what's wrong with millennials, but actually, we'll tie it in. Millennials are the most allergy-ridden motherfuckers because they were the start of like the peanut allergy, like me, the shellfish allergy, all this shit, because pregnant women didn't need it, they didn't introduce it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We won't dive down that rabbit hole, but let's go back to the EpiPen. You stab that thing in your thigh. Within 3 seconds, you have a raging hard-on.
Right, that's what I've heard.
But it's scary because it's the painful boner. And then on top of that, your heart rate, like,
Through the roof.
You just feel like your heart grows, and it's just, it's pumping at a rate where you can feel it. You can hear it in your like ears. Your teeth are like pulsing because of it. It's a fucked up feeling, and it's honestly uncomfortable as hell.
So 10 out of 10 do not recommend playing tag with EpiPens.
Man, no, it would be awkward and weird. I will say I have actually. This is a fun anecdote.
Everybody has sleepover with raging boners.
I've talked to a woman who has had to use an EpiPen with allergies, and I shared the boner joke, and she said my nipples were like your dick. And so I laugh because apparently women have an effect too, different, obvious, but here we are. So. Ultimately, yeah, EpiPen's not a fun experience. As far as where we go with like millennials and EpiPens and allergies, though, that is a very fun fucking recourse because Gen X, not as many allergies. Those years right around when I was born, that's the pop.
Well, I remember getting wild. I'm sure because of all your allergies, you probably got the back prick test where they gave you a little bit of everything on a big chart on your back.
I actually got it the first time. We said he's allergic to peanuts. They asked if we had definitive proof. They said, my dad said no, but we know he's allergic to peanuts. They did it. The peanut grew to about a 4-inch diameter on my back, took over parts of the grid. They said the test can't be used, so they had to wipe my back down. I went home miserable as fuck, itchy, just like the worst itch in the places you can't reach.
Oh yeah,
and had to go back a week later and get the same thing done, and they left peanut off that time.
Yeah, I was allergic to everything. Yeah, grass, dirt, trees, cats, dogs.
They giggled at mine.
I was not allergic to peanuts, though. That's about the only thing I was not allergic to.
Anecdotal and doesn't tie, but here we are. My mom swore up and down. My parents both did. So I would throw up milk, apparently. And so they thought I was lactose intolerant. So I grew up on Vitamite. No ice cream, none of that fun stuff. Sherbet, you name it. No reaction. At 17 years old, did that allergy test when it finally was done to me. We could afford it and shit was real. Yeah, no. No reaction to lactose whatsoever. I can milks all day.
Speaking of that, have you noticed when you go to the grocery store, if you get ice cream, it's not named ice cream anymore?
Most of them are dairy products.
It's called whipped dessert because it has so little dairy and so much sugar. It has to be classified as a dessert.
This is, again, going away from millennials, so we're going back after this.
No, I can tie this in after you finish.
Subway bread.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even bread. It's legally not bread by the FDA. Our Food and Drug Administration says that our fast food bread that's Eat Fresh, fuck that. Also, same group that gave Jared a bunch of money. That's the group that has bread that we don't call bread legally because of too much sugar.
I'm curious to know, but I would say it's probably around the millennials when we started getting fed 90% processed bullshit. Our parents didn't go to the butcher like their parents did. Our parents didn't grow gardens like their parents did. I would say we were probably the first one from the beginning fed all the processed bullshit.
Screens, advertising, influence. I want to go back to Subway.
Okay.
How many millennials advertise for Subway? And how many of those millennials actually eat Subway?
Probably none. I don't even know how Subway's in business anymore. I don't even know anybody that really eats there anymore.
If you deep dive Subway, they got some fucking dark practices, dude.
Oh, I know.
But
especially if you go into your testing of their meats and all the other stuff. That's for a different episode.
I was talking about their finances.
Oh, I can't.
All of them, contractual shit. It's fun. We'll look that up later. But how many millennials are advertising for Subway for money? Endorsement deals that would never touch Subway.
Every athlete. I think you had Megan Rapinoe, probably a vegan.
I don't think she's vegan. I don't honestly know that.
I don't. I'm just saying probably.
But we'll agree she's probably not crushing Subway.
Probably not. And if she does, it's maybe once a year.
I remember Michael Phelps holding it up.
Michael
you think
Phelps,
he was crushing them?
Hell no. Maybe after his bong hits.
I doubt it still.
Yeah, there's a bunch of athletes. I mean, they definitely hit the athlete advertising hard, which are all in our
Millennial age.
Mm-hmm.
And guess how many of them eat that product?
Slim to none.
Okay.
And they probably have a lifetime supply of it for advertising for them too, and still probably don't eat it.
And all these dumbass Gen Zers are looking up to millennials and the next ups for the inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And what do they see? They see millennials not eating food that they're advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, it's a generation that's got a phone in their hand and can Google it.
Yeah.
They have a DARE officer telling them weed is the gateway and you're going to do heroin the next time you do. You're more likely to do heroin if you have ADHD. You're more likely to want an opiate if you've got some prescription fuck up.
Well, let me ask you this. Why we have parents who, a lot of parents, a lot of the older boomers and stuff, they have a lot of the generational wealth. They're holding most of the wealth in America right now. Why did they not teach us the stock market, the investments, the things that they now rely on, the 401ks, all this other stuff? Why were we not taught that? Because we weren't. Furthest into finances I was taught in school was how to write a check.
My deep dark is that greed is more prevalent than sustainability. And I think that ultimately, oh man, how to answer this? That's a really good question.
I can give you my answer.
Go for it.
My parents were bad with money.
Okay.
I had to teach myself.
Okay.
And I still know more than them. Mm-hmm. I try to advise them. I try to help them. But I had to teach myself once I entered the job market about what I need to do with my money.
Okay. But this is the fuckery afoot here. You taught yourself via what?
The screen.
Okay. So there's my struggle.
Books. I actually did buy books on it, but
okay.
Mostly screen, yes.
Let's take a second here. During the boomer generation that raised Gen X's and millennials, right? Mm-hmm. And earliest years of Gen X, I guess, can tie into this. Ignorance is bliss. Mm-hmm. And Wall Street was a boys' club. And if you weren't in on it, you didn't know, you were just putting your money in and hoping.
Well, you also had to call somebody.
Or
when you wanted to make a trade,
they cold called you.
Correct.
That was two options. What did Bernie Madoff do? He cold called.
But I can so I can get on my phone and I can make a fractional trade for 50 cents and buy a $100,000 piece of Bitcoin, or 50 cents of a $3,000 stock, where when I used to have to call somebody and give them $3,000 for that one share.
Yep. And so this is getting back to that struggle of ignorance is bliss / you learned money from a screen. Why didn't they teach us? I know my parents went through their own hard times. Mm-hmm. I know that they learned their own money their way. Mm-hmm. And I know that my mom controls the finances. And I can tell you right now, she had to learn because she was broke. She was making her own bread with boys and having to take care of kids as a single mom, making her own bread kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's a different fucking lifestyle than we live now.
It is.
100%. Even if we want to go, oh, I don't have it so good. No, you do. You do. You're just bitching. Stop.
Yeah.
So that struggle that I have is I think that it used to be such a held together club of Wall Street stocks, etc., that if you weren't in the club, you just wanted a part of the action if they called. And you were banking on good faith. And it changed very quickly. And that's why they didn't teach us about money, because they didn't know shit about money. They thought they did. And even to this day, my mom still says, I'm still learning about money. So
well, I think even if you go back, I mean, you always hear our grandparents talk about, they just put all their monies in CDs. They weren't really invested. I mean, it's an investment, but they would lock their money up for 10 years in a CD and not touch it, and that was their investments.
Well, I mean, when did the stock market ring the bell? Like, to start the stock market?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Your grandparents put your money in CDs.
Yeah.
And that was your grandparents earned money and then held on to their money.
Well, and that's
Now
because they lived through the Great Depression and watched everybody who invested their money or put their money into a bank lose everything.
So again, going back to what we talked with Josh Valla, is the stock market a giant casino? Does the house always take the cut? And if that's the case...
In our lifetime, no. Because like you mentioned earlier, it's always gone down, and in our life, it's always gone higher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always done that since 1940, 42, whenever that was.
I thought it was 48.
48.
Could be wrong.
In the 40s.
But I guess where I'm saying my point is when your grandparents only had CDs, you're right. But there was no casino, and still to this day, my grandparents wouldn't go to a casino.
Yeah.
There's a different level of I earned what I earned, and I'm going to use what I earn, and this is what I've done. The synthesized betting market of stocks and banking on futures and banking on people that are not you to earn you money and hoping for a fiduciary responsibility of shareholders, that's on you.
Well, how many millennials lose money over pure stupidity in the stock market? You cannot lose money in the stock market unless you pull your money out less than what you put it in at. Correct? We agree on this, right?
I'm following what you're saying.
If I buy a stock for $10,
Yep.
The only way I can lose money is if I sell below $10.
Correct.
And as long as I leave it in there, historically, we've already said that it drops, but it always comes back higher.
And now we have, you're correct.
Let me get to where I'm going. We need instant gratification. And we are selfish, we are entitled, and we don't like the outcome. We will pull our money right now because it's in front of us, and we can put it back into our account.
Mm-hmm.
How many people, you probably don't know a number on a personal level or something, but I'm guilty of it. I don't like where this stock's going. I'm going to pull my money out when I should have left it.
Yeah, you admitted that recently on the metals company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I buy in like $1 and it's almost $5 a share right now.
Yeah.
So
I'm cruising.
we need instant gratification as millennials.
Do you look back at your Bitcoin and think too?
I did last night.
Okay. So
I was bought in at like $6,000. It's at 109 today.
again,
1,000.
it's a casino. We're trained. We're screen driven and taught.
Mm-hmm.
You are subject to it yourself. Me as well. Everyone is.
But if I would have been patient, I would be a millionaire right now.
Yes, but what I'm not gonna fight where that could have gone, but shoulda, coulda, woulda, fuck off. Okay.
Well, I get that.
No, shoulda, coulda, woulda, fuck off.
But I'm saying I'm not, because we need instant gratification.
Agreed. And you proved that.
Did I need to pull that money out? No, but I probably bought something fucking stupid with it.
I think those $400 shoes you're wearing. Now, moving forward
Fair
past
enough.
the roast fest on this one, and we'll avoid your shoes and gayness. Okay. How to phrase this fucking thing? Okay. Here's what I'm trying to get at. I'm just going to word vomit on you.
Mm-hmm.
Millennials are the ones that need instant gratification, pull their money, etc.
Mm-hmm.
How many millennials are the ones leading sport betting? Okay. Don't even answer it. I don't need it.
A large majority.
Thank you for answering it. Next up. How many millennials have seen someone get scammed
A large majority.
via the internet?
A large majority.
And typically, those scams are related to financial and typically market-based now for your dumbass mommies and poppies and grammies and grampies who don't fucking know it. So, I would argue that millennials are also the first generation of understanding and correlation to also the fraudulent aspect of that internet and the market, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that you have a
Well, here's a perfect example. My bank will not let me attach Venmo anymore. I have not given my info out to anybody, yet my Venmo has had 2 transactions for decent amounts come out because somebody hacked into my account somehow and sent themselves money. And the way the Venmo system works is you can't get it back once it's gone.
Okay. Let me answer that by asking you this. It's a long question, okay?
Okay.
Have you ever seen a millennial go on the dark web and for $27 buy someone's identification and all of the credentials they need to open an instant $5,000 credit card account?
Have I seen it? No. But does it happen? Every day.
And I've watched it happen. I've seen it in my own fucking eyes happen, and it's eye-opening. It's weird.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Especially when someone's showing you the way of how they make way more money than either of us in this room all the time.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're still doing it. Flipper zeros are involved, and data brokerage is involved, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is it a crime? Kinda. Is it a way for banks to write off debt and they don't really care because that's how capitalism works? Kinda. Is that how people that are chasing debt collectors, those collections agencies are able to open up, pop up, and go after anyone by buying your data? Yep. And people are ignorant.
How much stuff is legal but only deemed illegal because the government can't tax it?
Well, that's the thing that's kind of funny about it is our own government's behind in a lot of ways. Take, for instance, a Flipper Zero. I capture data that I want.
So for people that don't know what that is, it's an easy way to capture data from anything that is being transmitted in the air, basically.
A Flipper Zero is a really cute little hacker tool that people think is innocent.
Yeah.
Now, if you watch one in action, your next door neighbor comes home from work, they open the garage door with their car, right?
It captures that radio frequency.
Yep. You just got access to the garage. Credit card, same thing. Your phone, same thing. A lot of that shit. Imagine inviting a service tech into your house who just swaps out one light bulb, and that light bulb literally is a Wi-Fi network that captures every activity across your fucking platform. Yeah, all that shit exists.
It does.
People are stupid. So,
not to mention that cameras now are about the size of a tip of a pen.
You need nothing, man. And how much people put out there without having a clue?
Oh, you know, the let's take a survey. What's your porn star name? Well, it's the name of the first street you ever lived on. What color was your first car? What was your mom's maiden name? And add those together, and you just got the 3 most common password verification questions.
And share this cute little medallion to Facebook with your porn star name.
Right.
So going back to like what you were asking earlier with regard to somewhat ignorance. I think millennials are both the majority of grifters and scammers on that level. And I think they're also the most ignorant of that.
Oh yeah, there is a they are diametrically opposed on the polar scale of ignorance and downright nefarious.
Yeah.
The people that are doing the nefarious acts.
Yeah. And people forget that if someone captures your data with a Flipper Zero and puts it in a spreadsheet, but they don't use it against you, they just sell it, it's not illegal if they have the right company. It's not even remotely illegal. It's unethical, maybe. It's immoral, maybe. It's not illegal. I
mean, to a more legal sense, isn't that what a lot of large companies are doing anyways? The Facebooks, the X, your algorithm.
Don't you dare try to expose the fact that all of these dumb fucks social media is their data collection point, and they forget that other points of data collection exist. Don't try to expose that, Randy. Because, yeah, you're absolutely right. People forget that if it's free, Facebook, X, Instagram, any of this shit, anything with a terms of service that you've clicked and just hit agree and you've never looked at, just know you're the product.
Well, and that's another thing that millennials are very guilty of. We click accept all and move on. If you read the box of your TV, it says they have the right to spy on you. And that's for in layman's terms. It doesn't say that exactly, but they can use your TV to listen and see if it has a camera on it and do all of these things. And it's perfectly legal because you agreed to it by clicking OK.
But Randy, if you go to Facebook and you make the statement about warning, no one can use this for my I'm just trying to point out, people are stupid.
Yeah.
And ignorance is not blissful in an age of technology.
And for
ignorance
all those
is blissful when it was a boys' club on Wall Street.
And for all those ignorant people out there, it doesn't matter how many times you post to your Facebook that if you post this, they cannot harvest your data. That is free speech, and all you're doing is reposting something else that somebody posted. It has no legal merit whatsoever because you are on their platform, and when you are on their platform, you have to abide by their rules, not what rules you make up in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's called a legal contract.
And people are stupid enough to not realize that when you click I accept, it is a legal binding contract.
I think the sad part is people, for the most part, aren't stupid. They're lazy or ignorant. And that's free will of their own self-choosing. But
then we've talked about it too. You throw in the fact that majority of people read at a 5th grade reading level.
All right.
How many people are going to take the time to read it?
No. We're getting in different episodes.
But that's definitely a millennial thing. We are a part of that group, and we are a part that doesn't read it.
I argue.
And we put ourselves at risk daily.
I don't think anyone reads them. I think I'm a weirdo because I like to read through some of that kind of stuff and see what they say. Mm-hmm. I always know that when Ticketmaster fucks some people over, you're always going to see a couple things pop up about Ticketmaster's deep policies, and people finally read when they get fucked by Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
Same with anyone. I don't think anyone's actually stupid in that sense. I think they're just lazy.
That's true.
Or it's I need the gratification by downloading Instagram and logging in. I don't care.
I was going to say, you're not getting that dopamine hit by reading the terms of service. You get it by the clicks and the likes, so you move right the fuck on. Of course I agree to your new terms and services. I'm looking for the pictures. I'm trying to post something for people to like.
Yeah. Not to mention you walk around with a phone that forces you to update it, and it just tells you get to choose when. But here's what's going to happen.
We need instant gratification. And like you said, it all started with putting the internet on our phones.
So let's go back, Randy. Let's wrap this up, bub.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of words tonight, and I think that this has been one of my favorite episodes with you and just you. And we kind of talked about that prior to going into it.
Agree.
Where are you at? What's up with millennials, man? Give me your 2-minute hot take.
I am going to follow it up with a 2-minute hot take about how I fully agree with you that our problem started when we put the internet on our phone, when we made that screen bigger, when the screen was made bigger for maybe the premise of we can do more, but we all know it was for nefarious reasons, to distract us, to watch porn on, to TikTok, all that, and it has ruined our thought process. Our mental processing is down to about a 7-second attention span. That's a problem. When you have 24 hours in a day, but you can only focus for 7 seconds at a time, that's a problem. And it all started, like you said, when we put the internet on our phones.
I guess this is going to get awkward because I was going to agree with you.
Yeah?
And I was going to say that the problem that I think most millennials are facing, or as a generational demographic, me included, you included, we've never been through a struggle. We've never been through a hardship. We've never seen what it's like to have something be bombed on home field. We've
come close with 9/11, but it kind of ended right there. It didn't continue.
I would say, well, we won't dive into the specifics, but simply put, 9/11, the war on terror, whatever. But
We've seen tragedy. We've never seen hard times.
We've never been through that. We've never had to build the country to what we know it is now. And now, most millennials, I think, are just programming it to what it is, or being a part of a system with a screen. And I think it's because boomers aren't adapt. They didn't grow up with them. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. There's always outliers. There's always going to be a boomer that knows a screen. I'm not sitting here shitting on you. Don't misunderstand. I think Gen X has a ability with screens, but I think millennials are where the true talent popped and showed its ability. And I think that screens enabled media to mainstream us through all the bullshit. I think that screens enabled a lot of that, but I think that ultimately I was agreeing with you where you're tying it in with my screens. I'm tying it in with your, we got screens and we've always had it easy. We've always had it so fucking easy. Our biggest bitch is that bread prices went up. Not that we didn't have bread to buy and had to make bread. Could you, fuck, can't end this episode yet. Thought process. Could you imagine going to the grocery store with the ability to buy bread, and they said, sorry, we don't have bread, but you needed bread? You would have to make bread. How many millennials would be fucked the second that they got told, we ain't got it, go make it?
The craziest thing is it seems to be the new hobby for the older millennials is making bread.
Well, all right.
But yes, you were actually, and that comes back to like our grandparents. What if you went to the gas station and you only had 4 tickets to buy 4 gallons of gas because it was regulated, and you needed to get to your job that's 40 miles away because transportation has become so easy? We work and live a little further away. What do? Carpool or just not show up? That means you don't have a job. That means you don't have money. That means you can't buy food. That means you have to make your own bread.
I mean, the streetcars have been everywhere, and we've got an electric train system that works. But wait a minute.
We thought we would have that by now.
So, I think that this has been a fun episode. Ultimately, I think we're on the same page. Like, screens and no hardship.
Those are definitely 2 things at the top of my list.
And I argue screens just wholeheartedly. We were the first to really get them. We were the real first generation to be mass inundated by screens.
Well, let's be real. We were kind of introduced phones, and we were addicted to our phones slightly before we got the screens. So we already had that. You know, when you were bored, you picked up your phone and played on the Snake. When you were bored, you T9 text your friends. We were already slightly addicted before we got the internet on the phone. Once the internet hit the phone, it was just a catalyst for what we're dealing with now.
Here's a fun one for you that's a conspiracy theory of mine. Why did the Mayan calendar end in 2012?
Shit. With that being said, tell us what you think about the problem with millennials. We're millennials, so...
Seriously, fight us. We're ready.
And we'll probably agree with you.
And fight back.
And fight back.
Because we're millennials.
But listen in next week for some other stupid idea that we have to talk about.